He and others coerced women and others around him to fulfill his desires, as well as striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. But this is where things started getting even crazier, because the prosecutors explicitly said that Diddy wasn't running this enterprise on his own, and that he had other celebrities and powerful people who were heavily involved in these criminal activities as well. This information was revealed in his indictment, and I quote, "For decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P, Diddy, aka D, aka PD, aka Love, the defendant, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct." Now, I need y'all to really pay attention to this part. They said to do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in, and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The prosecutors didn't explicitly reveal the names of these people, since they are still gathering evidence against them to go to trial with. But this statement opened up the door for a whole lot of speculation as to who those people are. And as y'all can already guess, the names at the top of everybody's list were JayZ and Beyoncé. The rumors about Beyoncé and Jay being involved got even worse when a clip of DaBaby getting interviewed on Shannon Sharpe's show a few months ago started going viral. In this interview, DaBaby spilled some tea that nobody was expecting to hear. He opened up about the time that he met Beyoncé and Jay-Z at one of Diddy's industry parties at Diddy's house. He held back on going into details about what exactly the party was about, but he said there were some powerful people there, and that Beyoncé actually walked up to him to introduce herself, almost as if she was trying to flirt her way into something more than just a conversation. DaBaby also said that Diddy kicked out all the other non-important people from the room, leaving only him, Beyoncé, Jay, and a few other high-profile people in there. According to DaBaby, things then started to get a little touchy, and Diddy even put his hands around his neck. "I was at a party at Diddy's crib in LA. This was the beginning of 2020, you know what I mean. Diddy had put everybody else out of the crib, like the influx of people, but he had taken a liking to me in particular around that time, man. It was really, you know what I mean. Oh, like putting his arm around me, right? So he had put the majority of the people out, but he allowed me to stay in there, me and, maybe about 15 others. JayZ and Beyoncé being two of the other people in the room. So that'll just put into perspective the type of company I was in at that moment. And she came over and introduced herself to me, like as if she had to. Beyoncé, cut it out. But I'm a big fan of your work, you know what I'm saying? And that was just dope, man. That was dope as hell to me. That was dope." This sent the internet into a frenzy and had a lot of people giving Beyoncé the side eye. One person said, "Oh, she came over and introduced herself to you? The Beyoncé introduced herself to you? Ooh, we waking up now." Another person said, "You let that man put his arm around you, DaBaby. Of course he took a liking to you. It wasn't even about your music, it was in other ways. And of course Beyoncé too. She weird herself, and Jay's even weirder. Everybody who went to Diddy's parties is guilty." Some people even went as far as speculating that Jay was pimping out Beyoncé Diddy. Now, some of y'all might not know this, but there have been allegations about JayZ keeping Beyoncé on drugs in order to control her, and have her doing things she wouldn't usually do if she was sober. Not only that, but Jay allegedly puts his hands on her when she goes out of order. These drug rumors were actually started by her ex-bodyguard, Uncle Ron, who used to work for her during the early stages of her career. But I'll say it, man. Yeah, Beyoncé's been on drugs for a long time, and Jay keeps her that way. Now, I don't know about y'all, but Jay allegedly keeping her on drugs is very similar to what Diddy was doing to Cassie. If y'all remember, Cassie said the only way she was able to indulge in these freak-offs was if she was on drugs because she wasn't able to do it sober. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Jaguar Wright also stepped into the chat a few months ago and accused Jay of keeping Beyoncé on substances for the same reasons that Uncle Ron was claiming. JayZ, why has JayZ been coming up with you lately? Cause he's a monster. I waited a long time to see if he would grow a conscience, and the more he pumps down his wife's throat to keep her numb. Then, there was this viral video of Beyoncé looking zoned out at a basketball game with Jay. She could barely keep her eyes open and kept slowly swinging her head from side to side to stay awake. Her Puerto Rico team at the time tried to get ahead of the situation by claiming she was just tired from her rehearsals, but nobody was buying it. Shortly after this, Beyoncé's assistant told Media Takeout that Jay was putting his hands on Beyoncé. The assistant said, "Seems that for a while, he's had a problem with keeping his hands to himself." Now, I've never seen him just flat out strike B, but too many times I've seen him shove and push her. At first, I thought it was just a little horseplay between the two, but once I saw how embarrassed B was to be manhandled in front of me in St. Tropez, I realized it was no joke. I've been Beyoncé's assistant and friend for a while now, and I've always wanted to say something, but I never felt it was my place. He treats Beyoncé like she's an object, not a person. It's unclear how far JayZ has dragged Beyoncé into all this mess, but it's about to get exposed, and no amount of fame or power is going to be able to stop it, especially when Diddy's trial starts. As usual, people had their own thoughts about this, like one person who said Beyoncé and Jay going down next. It seems like the elites of Hollywood are having a downfall. I love B, but unfortunately,